the world of anime and manga, a wonderful place to enjoy escapism at its finest. Back when I first began diving into this form of media, I thought, only once I start reading and watching titles no one has ever heard of, can I call myself a veteran. So now, after 5 years of being a shameless weeb, I have created a list of titles I'd like to introduce you to. Most of these titles are hidden gems, lost among the endless oceans of unknown manga, hidden for you to discover. Others are fairly popular among their fan bases, but I still tend to find a lot of people who have never heard of them. So to keep things interesting, I will start with the more popular ones and move on to the less popular. All of these titles are series I deem worth reading or watching, gems very precious to me. So precious even, that I let them define my personality. So without further ado, let's start with the one title most of my friends have already heard of, because of me. Twisted Wonderland. Now, this one is actually a story-based game. They announced an anime some while ago but never got to it, so if you don't want to play the game to get to the story, you can check out their manga adaptation, though that one is still in its early stages. They're also preparing a light novel, which is supposed to come out late this year. We will see how that goes. For the story, you basically mix Disney's Descendants with the school arc in Black Butler. Fun fact, this game was also made by both Disney and Yana Toboso. Basically, you wake up in this magical school with handsome students who resemble classic Disney villains. Each dorm is based on a specific villain, and while the dorm leaders resemble that villain, the other students take specific side characters from those movies. While some characters are quite obvious, others are almost impossible to figure out. The magical mirror shows you to be a student at Night Raven College, but as someone who doesn't possess any magic, you share your student's position with a cat-like monster. Soon enough, you meet your first friends and get pulled into one adventure after the other, finding out more about each individual character as you meet them. Moving on to the next rather popular piece, Heaven Official's Blessing. Again, there are multiple forms of content you can consume. You can read the original novel, which everything is based on, or you read the manhwa series with its beautiful art. Or you watch the anime, which has 2 seasons at this point. I myself started with the anime not knowing about anything, until the plot had me so captivated that I needed to see more. The story is kind of difficult to understand for me personally, but basically we have this guy who is sensed to be a god, only to get thrown out of heaven again once he did a mistake. This happens 3 times, before our story even begins. Once he returns to the mortal realm due to a mission, he encounters this completely random guy, and gets along with him pretty well. Other heavenly officials are suspicious of him, but our main character is convinced that he's totally innocent. I'm bad at explaining it without spoilers, but there's romance going on, and it gets extremely cute the deeper you get into it. Next one, Rilakkuma. Now here we have 2 shows, Rilakkuma and Kaoru, and Rilakkuma in an adventure park. You've probably already seen these teddies around somewhere. They're popular mascots, similar to Hello Kitty or Gudetama. Even I own one of them. It was expensive as hell, but my brother got really attached to this character in the show, and I thought that was really cute. You could describe the show as a stop-motion slice of life. Although it looks quite childish, this is actually aimed at adults, as it teaches some values about keeping a work-life balance and similar topics. I think if you leave out some specific scenes, you could totally show this to any kid though, and they would love it. The characters are very cute, and each episode has a happy ending, so no need to worry about angst. Watching this soothes the soul, and you can forget about life worries for a while. Moving on to the next mascot with its own show, Gudetama. This one is similar to the previous one and follows a lazy egg and its chick sibling venture out into the world. While the chick drags the egg around everywhere it goes and is very motivated to find their mother, the egg is very motivated to laze around. This again could totally be watched with a child. Though I must warn you, There's a sad ending waiting for you. In all honesty, I would recommend stopping before you reach the end. Pokemon Concierge. This combines the Pokemon everyone knows and loves with the stop-motion style of the previously mentioned Rilakkuma series. In only 4 episodes, you are introduced to a few Pokemon and their troubles, as our main character works to let every Pokemon have a successful rehabilitation. Again, this is a very relaxing show, there to soothe your mind. Moving on to something not relaxing, and something you totally should not show any child. Alice in Borderland. You can think of it as the better Squid Game. I watched the Netflix original live action before knowing about the manga and anime here. On a random day, our main character steps into a place that looks like the usual Tokyo, just that it's empty. No one is here, except for him and the friends he was with just before this. Soon enough, they find out that in this parallel world, they have to play games to survive. They can freely choose where they go, what they do, and what games they participate in. There's only one problem. If you don't play for 3 days, your visa will expire. So, our MC tries to survive the world and its games, while simultaneously trying to figure out where he is and how to get out of here. After waiting for a very long time, they gave us a second season, but I must admit I preferred the first one. Now to the less popular titles. First off, Play It Cool Guys. A group of terribly clumsy guys, with each of them having their own way of dealing with awkward situations. While some of them die on the inside whenever they have to endure an awkward situation, others can't hold their laughter, or don't even notice that anything happened. This slice of life gives you the opportunity to feel a little less awkward next time something happens to you, as you also get to see how other people view the situation. Surprisingly enough, other people have their own problems and don't pay that much attention to your clumsiness. At the same time, this showcases that scary phase between school and work life, when you have just finished school and you don't know what to do next. While one of these guys is still in school, the other guy is in university, the next guy is already working, and the last guy is using his freedom to explore what he would like to do next. Even though I'm at university, I relate to this guy a lot. He doesn't have a clue what he wants to do later on in life. All he knows is that he loves creating, and he explores as many ways to be creative as possible. Romantic killer. Here, our main character lives her best life, without even thinking about getting into a relationship. When she starts a new game, her life starts to change though. The little creature jumps into her life, takes all of her favorite things away, and makes handsome boys appear instead. By starting the game this creature jumped out of, MC basically agreed to take part in this project. She will get her games, her cat, and her family back once she fell in love with one of these guys and gets into a relationship. As I write this down, it does sound quite odd and forced. The show is a funny spin on your average romance plot, since the MC actively tries to avoid any romance sent her way. Bee and Puppycat. Now this one is an absolute gem among cartoons. If you've ever suffered from art block, this show will make you forget what art block even feels like. It's the most relaxing, chill, inspiring, and aesthetically pleasing show I've ever watched. Our main character Bee encounters this cat-like creature and takes it home with her. It's a slice of life plotline with a tiny bit of lore sprinkled on top. The art style focuses a lot on color schemes along with random things that never get explained. Those roses? Yeah, they have eyeballs. What about it? Puppycat has the option to travel to different dimensions to work on little tasks and to earn some money. So Bee starts to come along after she gets fired from her job. Along with the creative ideas, pretty colors, and cute faces, the characters are also quite relatable. Things do get a little dark towards the end, and I never fully understood what was going on there, but the overall atmosphere this world gives off already makes it worth watching. I can't even find the words to describe it. If there's one thing you check out from all the things I recommend today, let it be this one. God Troubles Me. On a random Tuesday, the parents of our main character decide to leave for an endless vacation, saying that our main character is the chosen one to communicate between monsters and gods. Monsters in this world take the form of an animal, while also having a human-like form as a disguise. Gods, on the other hand, disguise as objects whenever they're not using the human form. So, our three main characters are MC, her cat, and her phone. Once again a slice of life with a subplot going on, MC tries to live her usual life, with the occasional god or monster stepping by to ask for some help. This show only exists in the original dub, Chinese. Chinese humor is a very refreshing change though. My favorite kind of humor is references, and this show provides some you never would have seen coming. This particular one with Kit caught me off guard the most. That's a reference to an old action show from the 80s that I used to watch with my dad when I was younger. There are 3 seasons so far, and the next season got announced recently. Now we can finally get to the manga section. I'm gonna assume that all of these are similarly unpopular. Mao can't choose a gender. After her boyfriend broke up with her, our protagonist goes to sleep with the thought that she hates men. But the next day, she wakes up as a guy. After talking to her dad about it, she finds out that this runs in the family, and that her dad used to be her mom. Accepting this new body, Mao starts a new life in an all-boys school. After an accidental kiss, their body turns back into their previous form. After one of her new friends finds out, he helps Mao with hiding the secret. But what if her new crush finds out? This manga is very silly but incredibly cute at the same time. Sadly, it's still in its early stages. There are only 8 chapters so far. Mooning over you. Our incredibly handsome main character often gets mistaken as a guy. Even though everyone knows her as a girl, her princely behavior and handsomeness blind the people. She's known as the school's prince. Suddenly, a new prince arrives, an incredibly handsome guy. After coincidentally meeting our protagonist, he only has eyes for her. She slowly opens up to him, and we find ourselves in a slowly developing relationship. I can't get over how handsome he is, oh my god, and then the scenes are so pretty, and the art is just... I'm very normal about this romance manga. When I first saw the cover, I wasn't even interested in reading it. But when I saw this guy... Listen. This right here. This is a sketch a friend of mine drew back when she didn't know what I looked like. She drew it based on my voice only. And now look at this guy. Do you get me? I'm obsessed with him. Misery loves company. 2 guys, united by fate. But not the usual kind. For everything that happens to him, he takes the injuries. The wounds transfer over to him after a short amount of time. On top of that, there are 12 disasters waiting for them. They each have a birthmark that appeared on them this year, each petal of the flower representing one disaster. If they survived it, one petal disappears, so these birthmarks tell them how many are left. If they survive this entire year, the curse will be lifted and they can go their separate ways again. What if they don't want to? This is a BL after all. Victoria's electric coffin. Victoria Frankenstein, a genius at the age of 12, takes on the experiment her deceased father couldn't continue. Her test subject, the criminal who received death penalty recently, turns out to be a success. He comes to life and obeys. As an incredibly strong being, Victoria uses him to help the people of the city. Having received a new chance at life, the ex-criminal is entirely devoted to his doctor and wants to improve himself for her. But then an old classmate appears with his even more powerful creation, and things don't end up looking well for our protagonists. With an already completed story in only 3 volumes, this is a short read. Precious fleeting moment. Lastly, we've arrived at my favorite out of the manga pile, Frozen Blood. Our main character wakes up in a mansion, remembering that she had a road accident on her way to her new job as a maid. After talking to the owner of the mansion, who sits in the same room as she wakes up, she decides to start working here as a maid instead in order to thank this man for saving her life. She then gets introduced to the other 3 men in this household, all charming in their own way. Soon enough, she finds out that all of them are vampires, starving themselves as they don't want to hurt another human being. Even though a vampire is immortal, starving can make one lose control over his body, which in some cases turns into a permanent case. This seems to be the case with Gilbert, who spends most of his days locked away in the basement to keep our protagonist safe. While she tries to find a way to save them all, she discovers more and more about their twisted past. On top of that, she starts to get very attached to the guy who brought her here. With a completed story and only 27 chapters, this was my favorite little gem so far. Filled with mystery and romance, the story will leave you at a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter. The backstory of these vampires is very dark and twisted, and their entire situation becomes increasingly complicated the more we find out about these guys. The art is absolutely stunning too. Sometimes I just sat there staring for a while before I continued reading. That's it for now. I will definitely continue this as a series though. The more gems I find, the more I can recommend. So look forward to my next wave of recommendations, once I've watched through them myself. And I hope you'll have checked out at least one of today's titles until then. I hope this finds the right people. I can't really describe my own taste in content other than saying I'm a Black Butler kid. If you are a Black Butler kid, or you know one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's an entire aesthetic and vibe that comes with it. And like a vampire that licked blood, you'll crave more without knowing what exactly you're searching for. On the other side, I also recommended a lot of slice of life shows today, because what is a show for if not for forgetting life's troubles for a second? Either way, I'm sure there's something for everyone, and I hope you'll enjoy them as much as I did.